Hi, and welcome to the MedTech Insider, where we give you an inside look into all things med device. My name is Parker Snedden. I will be your host today, and we have a great guest on our podcast today, our CEO and co-founder of Spinal Simplicity, Todd Moseley. Todd, welcome to the show. So glad to have you.
Parker, I am so humbled to be here. I tell you what, you guys have put together is extraordinary.
It's been a lot of fun. And we've been trying to get our schedules together for a while to get you on the podcast. And obviously you're a busy CEO. And so super grateful for the time today. I'm looking forward to it.
I am as well. Thank you.
Well, I want to start with the early days, Todd. And you and I have had a chance to get to know each other over the past 4 years. And we're both former college athletes. And I think it would be fun for our guests to hear, our audience to hear your commitment to baseball. So you're a big baseball guy. You played NAIA baseball. How did that translate from being an athlete to starting your career off in medical device and in healthcare?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, playing sports, you realize very quickly the ones that are practicing when no one's watching is maybe one of the greatest things. You look at the teammates that are putting in the extra work, extra time. You want to be better. You want to help your team. How are you going to do that? And it's not usually always allocated in the time just for practice. It's the ones you're going to put in the extra work, the extra running, the dedication, taking those extra ground balls. And for me, I love playing shortstop. And so that was my go-to position. And I was a leadoff hitter. So you've got a lot of responsibilities at that position for your team, and there's some similarities to being a CEO of the company. Let's set the tone. Let's set the direction. Let's get on base. Let's make something happen, and let's lead the organization.
I hear you say that sometimes when people step up and do the thing first, like, oh, you're going to bat lead off today.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm sure that comes back from your early days of playing baseball.
it does. Get on base any way possible, any way you can. Take a walk, get a hit, bunt signal, whatever it might be, get on base, and let's be disruptive on that base path and make something happen.
Does that also align with your thinking when you're evaluating talent, like looking at people that are working on their craft behind the scenes? Like, how do you think through that when you're asking people questions, when you're interviewing them? Like, you're looking for that, right?
I always like to look for things that people have overcome in their life. And you'll see tendencies, you'll see direction and intent. And again, are you practicing when no one's watching? Or are you willing to do the little things that put you in a position and are willing to help your teammates? I like to look for all those attributes.
Okay, so one other insight I want our audience to hear about from you that we get to talk about often here is your ties to the military. So obviously, the names of our products, Minuteman, Patriot, Liberty, others coming out potentially. Give me just the passion that you have for our military and why that is.
I had several relatives that served in the military, several in World War II and in Korea. And so hearing those stories firsthand from those individuals that have been there and seeing the sacrifice they made and sometimes the pain that came with those stories, pretty moving. And so for us to live in the greatest country in the world, to live in this blanket of freedom that they so willingly provided for us, it's the least we can do is honor those men and women.
And I love that we do that with the name of our products. And even recently, we've been talking about it more often in our presentations and slide decks and when you give talks. So maybe talk about the Navy SEAL Foundation, Return to Duty. There's some other charities that we're partnering with.
No, I mean, and Parker, you were instrumental in helping us with the Navy SEAL Foundation. I don't a lot of people realize just because you want to support the Navy SEAL Foundation, they're very protective of their name and their brand, and rightfully so. They're the best of the best. And so we were honored to be selected to be able to support that organization. So a portion of every implant that we sell goes to support our Navy SEALs. So proud of that, and we're going to be continuing that for years to come.
That is such a big deal. And it's unique, I think, in our space where we're giving away some of the dollars to charity and specifically to our military. I love that. It's really what we're about, isn't it?
It is what we're about. I mean, their families of the servicemen sacrifice so much. It's not, I mean, the whole family serving. It's not just the person that's deployed. And then when some of those individuals pay the ultimate sacrifice, you want those dollars to go to help their family members, help their children go to college, pay for mortgages, whatever it may be.
Yeah, we talk about our why around here often, giving
Mhm.
patients their freedom back, but another why is that we're here to give back to the military, and I love that that's part of our culture. Let's talk a little bit about Minuteman.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting to the root and the story of the beginning of Minuteman. So how did the idea of Minuteman even come about?
Well, may have to go back even a little bit further, Parker, and you may not know this story, but Scarab was our first product. And so we were developing that product, and so Dr. Hess and I partnered, and we started um, meeting regularly in 2007, formed a company in 2008, July 2008. Our first idea was, at that time, if you can go back that far, X-Stop was ruling the day. That was the hot product on the market, and so we started really studying X-Stop, what was great about it, what maybe what were the shortcomings of that product, and so our initial device was going to be a spacer product, the Scarab. We had a very innovative way to do that, which you'll see some of those aspects in G6, which maybe we'll touch on later. But so the idea for Minuteman was it really came out of the problems that we saw with X-Stop. So we started seeing the data from Europe where these patients were doing great for 6 months, sometimes a year, and then they're falling off dramatically. And why are they falling off? Well, we got those X-rays, we studied them, we evaluated them, we saw that micromotion was the cause, was the culprit. So you have a product that has no means of ever acquiring a fusion, and so the titanium's harder than a bone. You lose your distraction. Pain comes back. The patient represents themselves in the office. We quickly decided we didn't wanna go down that road. I love the idea, of my tip of my cap to the creator of Xstop, but the concept wasn't flawed. It was we needed a better implant, and so that we know we needed a device that would fuse, and we needed a device that would guard against micromotion, and so that's where Minuteman came from. We wanted a threaded implant, so the means of insertion is easy, it's predictable. Some of these patients are older. You don't wanna, the doctor to have put much stress on the spinous process. And then I took a little inspiration from, I'm a bow hunter for, the Rage Broadhead. I wanted to implant the thread across. I wanted to deploy the wings on that contralateral side, and I'd be able to lock it down. And so but you wanted to also replicate a device that was comparable to, 4 pedicle screws and 2 rods, and we've shown that in our biomechanical testing. Now, 4 screws and 2 rods test slightly better than an implant, but there's no statistical difference between the 2 implants, and there's a lot of difference in the, um, invasive nature of placing pedicle screws versus placing Minuteman.
Yeah, I love that the original concept evolved, right? Like you had an idea, did the research, and then went, well, maybe we could. And by the way, because you're a bow hunter, went back and said, okay, these concepts from bow hunting, I think could maybe be applied to a medical device.
Yeah, Parker, I'm not ashamed to say I've literally borrowed from everyone around me when you look for a creative idea. And there's been a lot of really bright people that have come up with some genius ideas. And we try to take the best of each thing and look at how can, if we were going to face this problem, how would we solve it? And how do we do it with the least amount of tissue disruption possible? Boy, I think sometimes you think about business, what is your greatest attribute? And is I won't quit. We're not going to back down. You got to have that grit, and you don't want to do it to the point of being foolish with it. But if you do believe you got the right idea and you've got the right people and the right team assembled, then be bold.
And I'm sure that goes back to even what we talked about at the beginning, your baseball days, like where you just, I mean, playing college basketball myself, where you just learn to not stop.
Yeah.
Like it, you, so talk about that a little bit.
No, I mean for me, I again, being a leadoff hitter, you want to get on base, and then I stole a lot of bases, and so you've heard me say it before. I mean, others have said it before me. You can't steal second with your foot on first, and so what does that mean? Well, it also means that you're not reckless. I can't hurt my team by being foolish in what I'm trying to do. But I also know that you're not going to steal second base playing it safe. You're going to have to get a lead. You're going to have to pick a moment and go. And sometimes it's not the fastest guy that's stealing second. It's the one that has the best anticipation, the best jump. And I've seen folks that weren't blessed with blazing speed that were pretty good at stealing bases because they absolutely read the pitcher, and were a great student of the game.
Yeah, that even goes back to your conviction of studying when no one's watching and practicing when no one's watching and reading the pitcher and looking at tape on the pitcher beforehand.
Well, our doctors are such a great example for us to follow. and our APPs. There's not a group of men and women that are continuing to practice when no one's watching more than our APPs and our physicians. You see them at conferences. They've been through 12, 14 years of training already, but they're relentless at improving their own skill set and learning something new. And I'm in awe of them. I'm grateful for them.
Yeah, particularly in interventional pain, it seems like every time we meet someone that's just a high performer like that, they have climbed Mount Everest. They do the Badlands race. I mean, they're just next level with that kind of
They
stuff.
are. Yeah, quite an inspiration.
They are very good. Um, okay, so kind of moving into Minuteman is approved and cleared by the FDA. You start selling it to surgeons, and then you have a big pivot, and we'll call it 2020,
Mhm.
where you get an invite to a meeting in Vegas, right? So talk about that.
Well, so, Tim Deardahl with SciAd, Doctor, SciAd reached out to me, and this was in, early gosh, probably late November, early December of 2019, invited me to a meeting, and they were holding in Scottsdale, Arizona. Wasn't sure what to expect. I went out to the meeting by myself. I didn't wanna ask another teammate to go on a weekend. Those are hard to come by, and so I'm at the meeting, and I did invite one of our board members down. So Rich Grant came down to be at the meeting because I told him I wasn't sure what to expect, but I was interested in exploring the opportunity, and, I was blown away with the reception, that we got from the meeting. We hosted a cadaver lab there, and I had a demo torso model there as well, and I was literally going from one table to the next, back and forth as fast as I could, and, I knew we had made the right decision, and I'm grateful for that invitation because it really opened my eyes to the possibility, and can we do this? And yes, we can do it, and can we do it safely? Absolutely, and, the results speak for themselves. The group's done a phenomenal job with the product.
What did their reaction how did their reaction at that meeting tip you off to, "Oh, we might have something here"?
Well, I mean, it's rare that you go to a show and you feel like, that the reception just blew me away. The desire to want to be able to treat these patients with um, um, a longer term result, a fusion product, what the fusion would be able to deliver. I think at that point it was even known, and maybe some of the shortcomings of some of the other spacer devices that were on the market at the time. And again, same thing with Xtop. What dooms that product long term is probably micromotion. And so the idea of being able to get the distraction the doctor's trying to seek, the indirect decompression they're wanting to get for that patient, but also the stability that comes along with that fusion device, again, comparable to 4 screws and 2 rods through a minimally invasive incision.
Yeah, so it was the next step in technology. They
It,
were
it
going, "Wait
really
a minute,
was.
we have something that we like, but there's a shortcoming. This solves for that."
Well, and the other thing, Parker, that happened at that time was in January of 2020, Medicare opened up reimbursement for the ambulatory surgery center. And so prior to that, we were really locked into the hospital and hospital only. So our products are really tailor made, and they had been from day one for the ASC market.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question actually, is just talking about, your vision to, we talk about we want the physician to be thinking about spinal simplicity when they step into the ASC all the way to the end of their day. Talk about that long-term big picture vision that you have.
Well, for us, it's how do we provide value? And the more value we can provide, the better. So patients, it's well known, would much rather go to the ambulatory surgery center. And I think most physicians would prefer to operate in the ASC as well. There's efficiencies that come with that. Those patients get to go home, sleep in their own bed. And, the teams are just usually, phenomenal in the ASC at turning the rooms over, being efficient with the doctor's time so they can treat more patients. And our products are really, I mean, tailor-made for that application. And then you know that with our single-use instrumentation, that's been a big win as well. And again, how do we bring value? Single-use instrumentation brings value. It improves turnover time, it improves safety profile because you're ensured that instrument set is single-use sterile packed and ready to go.
Yeah, so you're thinking about the ASC, you've got Minuteman, you've got a single-use instrument, but then you don't stop there. So one of my favorite stories is the quote that one day you just said, "I wonder if I can maybe put this Minuteman across the SI joint." So
Yeah.
talk about how that
Well,
started.
I'd been thinking about the SI space for a long time, and I got a lot of advice to stay away from and not go into it because it's too crowded of a space. But I was kind of, again, thinking about if you can find a better way and then, thoroughly evaluated everyone's products that's out on the market. And I really came back to Minuteman. And so we had a lab in our office here in Kansas City. And after our physicians left, some of the engineers stayed. And I said, guys, I'm going to put this G5 across the SI joint. And I think I got a couple sideways looks, but
Some laughs.
yeah.
What are you talking about?
So we were able to get the G5 in, got it across the joint, opened it up, got the wings deployed, and locked it down. And we fully admitted that wasn't the right product for that, but I wanted to get to see if the concept would work. And the fixation was exactly what you would expect. It was so rigid. I'm like, okay, all right, let's go get a purpose-driven product now for the SI joint. And then, when you evaluate, what are the biggest concerns? So the biggest concerns are, for me, I didn't understand, I still struggle to understand why it's a good idea to put an implant into the sacrum. That's not how God designed that part of the body to operate and function. So I don't think it's a great anchor point for any implant, ours or anyone else's. And so we wanted to focus on just be above that S1 corridor because we did the research. We found out that's the best bone in the SI joints above the S1 corridor. And so our implant, part of the safety profile of it is that it's only going to go about 12 to 13 millimeters across the joint. We deploy a wing mechanism, again, similar to Minuteman, 20 millimeters in wing against pure cortical bone, not soft cancellous bone, but pure cortical bone, and then lock it down on the ilium. So that goes back to my orthopedic roots and AO principles. How do you lock down and fuse a joint? So I've been a big advocate of using HA on all of our implants. It costs the company a little more money, but it's worth it because it brings great value for our doctor and our patient, even if they don't realize it at the time. It's the right thing to do for our patients and our doctor. And so, when we've seen some remarkable results in growth in our SI technology and that whole platform, by the end of this year, it'll be, gosh, 25 to 30% of our total business. So it's grown and grown much faster than even Minuteman did
Yeah, in less than 2 years.
in less than 2 years, about a year and a half.
Yeah. It took a little bit longer to get Minuteman to that point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely it did.
So talk about that maybe a little bit.
Well, I think anytime you pioneer a market, it's difficult. And so particularly when no one's seen this product. So Dr. Hess and I pioneered that lateral surgical approach for Minuteman. We have a method patent on it that we're grateful to have. And but it's not the norm. Nobody trained on it. And so when you go out to talk to somebody about the product and the procedure, you're starting from the very beginning. And so that's quite a story to have to tell.
Yeah.
I think it's a great story to tell because, again, the way the anatomy is working in our favor with Minuteman because that case is down above the level of the facet, and there just aren't any neural elements present. So it's exceedingly safe in our trajectory. And the way the muscle runs, we're dilating our way into space. We're not cutting muscle. And again, that's one of the pillars of your low back is preserving that musculature.
I love that. And you mentioned your orthopedic background. How has that influenced the way that you think about the way you develop products now, even the way you think about the market?
Again, Parker, I'm going to get a credit to every single doctor I've been in the room with through the years. And, I'm coming up on my 40th year at orthopedics.
Wow.
And
40 years.
so it's remarkable, starting with some orthopedic surgeons in Louisville that were kind enough to take me under their wing and let me put a lab coat on and 5:30 in the morning and go follow them around and make rounds with them and learn total hips and total knees and sports medicine. And I think, you know, we want to be relentless at learning as much as we can in many areas because we take inspiration from many aspects of medicine to create the products that we have here today. And so I'm borrowing from orthopedics. I'm borrowing from literally everyone I've come in contact with and think, okay, can we come up with the right idea? And we have an exceptional group of engineers at Spinal Simplicity. So I can take a half-baked idea to phenomenal group, and what they're able to turn out is just magic.
I wouldn't sell yourself so short. I don't know if they're half-baked ideas, but you are right. The engineers do
Yeah.
an incredible job.
No, and I don't wanna leave them out because, we would be nothing without that group of men and women.
I love it. Well, before this podcast, I don't know if you know this or not, but I asked a group of um, our longer tenured employees, and I just said, hey, I'm going to be interviewing Todd. Give me some of what I call his Todd-isms that you guys hear from time to time. And so I've got a few of these I just want you to think about and say, what do they mean to you?
Mhm.
So the first one is stay humble and hungry.
I think for me, and that one, I think it even goes back to be a little bit biblical, honestly, Parker, is that, let's walk with humility and let's go do the work. And you got to stay after it. You got to be hungry. And for me, that's kind of in a nutshell what I think about when I say stay humble and hungry.
That's good because I think you have like two extremes of people a lot of times where you have some that are just humble, but they lack that, drive. And then some that are super driven, but because of that, they don't have the humility. So I love that that's the way you think about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, another one is good outcomes is good business.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, great outcomes to great business is what I usually say, and I don't think there's a truer statement. We want to win one great patient outcome at a time, and that may earn me the right to be invited back to our doctor's OR, and that's what we're striving for. And we've got several of our team members now that our family members have gotten our implant, and it's very real. We design our products for our mom and our dad, and your wife, your loved ones.
That's good. How about be brilliant in the basics?
Well, again, I think that goes back to maybe my baseball days in a way that teams that make all the routine plays win a lot of baseball games. I don't think anybody expects you to juggle for them, but they do expect you to know what you're talking about. And so let's read the same journal articles our doctors are reading. Let's spend the time and effort in the lab. Let's perfect it. Let's win in the lab before we ever take that product out to the market.
Mhm. This is my favorite one. Never pay more than $20 for a pair of jeans.
Or if I want to give a little ode to Rural King and Tractor Supply, a couple of my favorite places to get jeans. So I don't know that I'm worth more than $20. So uh,
Yeah, for a lot of those in the audience that don't know, you do a lot of farming
I
and
no, I love that's kind of I love to get time on the tractor and chainsaw and turn some dirt over. And one of the guys I bought some land from years ago. Um, Jim, he only knew me from my own old farm truck and, dirty from head to toe when I showed up and I'm down there working, trying to get as much done in one day as you possibly can. And Jim was suffering from spinal stenosis, and he would come out to the barn to meet me. He's still living on the property that I bought from years ago, and so he'd always come out and greet me. And then he had difficulty getting back to the house, so I finally asked him. I said, "Man, would you let me help you?" And one of our local physicians, Dr. Kloster, a great friend of the company, um, took the case on and got just a phenomenal result for a now 91-year-old, 90 at the time, and he performed that operation, and no one was going to operate on him at 90 years old, and just got a remarkable outcome. And he's asking Dr. Kloster for handfuls of patient brochures, and so people are going, how did you get rid of your walker and your cane?" So, it's just grateful through our doctor's hands to be a small part of that story.
now he's telling the story to his friends.
He is. And I know Dr. Kloster told me he's gotten several referrals from that area because of it.
That goes back to your point earlier, though, less invasive, shorter anesthesia time, not in the hospital, but outpatient. That kind of patient probably wouldn't have been taken care of potentially without Minuteman.
No, and so many of them at that age are not even seeking or don't even think they're a candidate to be helped. And so I love that this industry is helping our older individuals.
All right, last one is lead, don't follow.
Yeah, I think for me on lead don't follow is that again, it goes back to, go make your way. Go make your way in this world. And I'm not asking somebody to give me a handout. I want to I want to go make it happen.
Yeah, I love it. There's a lot more Toddisms, by the way, but those are just a few that I chose that we wanted to talk about. We'll keep compiling them on the next episode. We'll talk to you about them. So as you reflect, Todd, on your early years in Spinal Simplicity and you're looking ahead, what's one thing that you would tell yourself in that first year of, hey, be looking for this that you've learned?
I think for looking back on it now, and I try to give this advice to others too that are much younger, it's that don't put any limitations on yourself. And then for just from the business standpoint, you've heard this over and over, it's going to take twice as long and cost twice as much money. And it may not have if we got an approval in 2012, but when, that's a setback. And so you have to go back. And then, along the ways, you're going to have things. I'm sure you interview anyone, there's going to be story after story of all the things that didn't go right. Even our mechanical testing in the early days with one of our G3 versions of the implant, it failed very quickly in our first mechanical testing. And I said, there's no way that product failed. There's something wrong with the test block. And guess what? We went back and found out through the vendor there was something wrong with the test block. And then, we got that solved. But I mean, you initially get that feedback that, oh my gosh, we spent millions of dollars to develop this product and it failed. Well, I'm like, it didn't make sense. And
Yeah, there's lots of adversity that you have to overcome. We could probably spend a whole episode on talking about the adversity that you've overcome. Is there anything else that comes to mind other than that with some of your products that you've hit?
Well, I think even the early days when you know your products would be perfect for the ambulatory surgery center, and from 2015 to 2020, you can't access that market because there's not enough reimbursement. So your patient bide your time, and it's a slower process to go hospital to hospital.
So you're waiting for the market to open up.
We're absolutely waiting for it to open up.
Yeah, yeah. So you've faced rejection. You've had some incredible products come to market. So I know there's a lot more that you want to accomplish, but looking back on the first years of Spinal Simplicity, what are you most proud of?
I mean, far and away, I'm most proud of. I mean, everyone likes to say, we've got, I think, 155 patents issued. Boy, that's nice. But for me, my father-in-law's gotten 2 Minutemen implants and a Liberty now, and to see the change in his life. And you guys have been phenomenal at telling our patient stories and our doctor stories of how through their hands we've been able to impact that life and give them their freedom back and improve their function and their ability to go to their grandchildren's baseball game, softball game, whatever it might be. I think for us, that's far and away is our greatest accomplishment is through our doctor's hands, we get to be a small part of these outcomes.
It's helping the people.
Absolutely. I'd rather serve than be served.
I love it. What do you want your legacy to be when this thing is all done, Todd?
I, I hope we've helped a ton of patients. I hope we've helped our doctors provide the exceptional care that I know those men and women are wanting to do and striving to do and do a phenomenal job each and every day. And I hope maybe we left it a little better than we found it, Parker. Can we contribute to, being a force and minimally invasive? I'd like to say that, and I'm incredibly proud of the team that we've assembled. I mean, an army of one's getting nothing done, but with the team that we have here and the engineers, I mean, and every part of the organization is incredibly important. You've also heard me say there aren't any unimportant parts. Shipping, receiving is mission critical. You can do everything right. You don't ship the product out correctly. Sterilization, packaging, it's all critical.
Absolutely. Well, it's patient first more than
Absolutely,
anything, right?
patient first.
I love it. Todd, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to just look back on the first 40 years of your career. And then I'm so looking forward to seeing what happens next at Spinal Simplicity. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Parker, my absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Todd.